Hi guys, thanks for joining. This is Essence of Science, and today we're talking about decomposition. I'm Amanda Armagast.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence. Has been a while that you and I have made this science podcast.
Yeah, and yesterday was Earth Day, actually a holiday to me. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Earth and how we can respect it a little bit more, and a little bit about the impact that we're having on it. This will be a fast one, a little bit of just like running through certain things, and then I'm going to say an item and ask Dr. Abbasi how long he thinks it takes to decompose. And then I'll say the answer. And you can say any information you want to say, but I just wanted to kind of bring some of these to light because when I read these numbers, it actually ruined my mood. It made me almost cry because of how bad these numbers are. And another thing that triggered this is I actually got into a little bit of a road rage incident recently because I was in stop and go traffic and the person in front of me threw their cigarette butt out the window. Do you know how long?
Is it called littering?
Yeah, it's called littering. And I think
isn't it illegal?
It is illegal, and I think we should bring shame back to littering. So I was telling her, I saw that. Thumbs down, L sign. You're destroying the planet for what? How many cigarettes are you smoking a day? Guess how long it takes a cigarette to decompose? A cigarette butt.
Cigarette butt? It is in decades.
10 to 15 years in good settings. So not in a landfill. 10 to 15 years for your cigarette butt to decompose.
But why? No, see, cigarettes are mostly made of organic material. Why does it take so long? Like if you actually put a regular same material out there, it doesn't take that long. Why does it take that long?
Well, I would have guessed maybe the chemicals.
Yes, because of the chemicals, tar, especially the tar. Like, have you heard that those tar animals that they get, they go like in California, there is this tar pits. So some animal have been thousands of years preserved there. So the cigarette butts, they have the tar inside of them, almost like preserves them. That's why it takes so long for them to decompose.
And then you're putting that in your body, which isn't the point. My point right now isn't that cigarettes are unhealthy.
That's your choice, but don't destroy the planet.
Yes.
That's not yours alone.
Thank you. It's not yours to destroy, not even your own yard. Someone else is going to live there someday. Okay.
Okay, go. Next.
Okay. How long do you think aluminum foil takes to decompose?
500 to 600,000 years.
You were close. 400 years about. And keep in mind, this is not in a landfill. In a landfill, things take a lot longer to decompose because there's not enough air, there's not enough sun, there's not the organic materials like mushrooms.
But in 500,000 years, the can is not there like a can anymore. But those particles to completely dissolve and so on. Now, all aluminum cans, it's not just aluminum. There is a layer of lacquer that actually protects that so it doesn't, your beverage doesn't taste like metal.
Yeah.
So it takes a long time to get rid of that layer of protection. And then aluminum is something that it protects itself. Every time there's aluminum exposed to air, it builds aluminum oxide level layers which protect that. That's why aluminum doesn't rust. Now, having said that, throwing aluminum in a landfill is, I think that's the travesty, because aluminum is the most recyclable material. And it takes 1/10 to 1/20th amount of energy to make an aluminum can to a new aluminum can than if you would go and take it from the ore.
Yeah, but then there's other factors that go into recycling. Like, there are rules. When you recycle, you don't just throw your stuff in the recycling. You actually have to wash it. You have to take...
Really?
Yeah.
Not aluminum.
Yeah, you do not put food, you do not put things like that in the recycling. If you have a jug of milk, you don't throw that in the recycling. You rinse it off, you take the cap off, you recycle the cap separately than the jug of milk.
That's too much work. That's something that we need as a society to work on, to make it easy for people to recycle.
And that's like what you just said, it's too much work. And that's why actually most of the stuff that you throw in the recycling goes to landfill.
I have heard that we think that, we throw it in the recycling, we feel good about it, but 90% of that actually is not being recycled. It goes to the landfill for many reasons, including what you described. But what I'm getting at, we have the technology, we just need to have the willingness to move to that step. Like in some countries, and most of the Scandinavian countries, all plastic material, they are used like fuel. They heat your home, they create energy that otherwise you had to burn petroleum or coal and so on. So there are ways to go around it, but energy in the United States has been traditionally so cheap, unnaturally cheap, that we don't have the incentive to recycle.
Yeah, I think that's it. We're also really lazy. Like
Now,
what
see,
you just said, rinsing off your milk carton is too much work. I agree. It is annoying to rinse off your milk
but as
carton.
well, rinsing it off, then you are using water, then and so it adds additional thing. But what they do in so why do we no? You have to go understand the science of recycling. Why do you need to take the cap away from the
Because of the
box?
machines.
Because there are different kind of plastic.
Yeah.
There are different kind of plastic. If you mix them, it doesn't give the consistency of the plastic that we expect our material to have these days. Now, if you're going to truly break them apart and mix them all together, you get a really non-usable, very bad plastic that barely you can maybe make pallets, the delivery pallets and so on with it, but not really material. Now, what do they do? And Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark, they have the same problem. How do they solve that? Instead of taking oil, burning it, they make the oil to plastic, which they can then produce beautiful, clean plastic. They reuse it, then they go and burn it and produce energy. So they literally reuse it in that way. If you use it that way, you don't have to separate it. You can put them all together and burn them at the same time. But then your generators and your power generators and power whatever they are, they have to be set up to be able to burn that. But it's all possible. Technologically, it's all possible.
Yeah. It is possible, but it takes thinking and it takes changing. And I don't think we're in really
talking about that.
Space for that.
How long does it take the plastic if you throw it in the landfill too?
Okay, yeah, let's go into it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about plastics. And also I wanted to say that's why the saying is reduce, reuse, recycle. It's not recycle, reduce, reuse. Recycle is the last thing. Your first step, reduce. Yeah, your first step is reduce your consumption. Consume less. Your second step, reuse your consumption. For example, glass water bottles. Glass water bottle takes like 1,000 years to decompose because it's glass.
Well, but on the other side, a glass after just few years,
it's broken.
It becomes like the
sand.
It is sand.
Yeah,
glass is sand. So what that means is that even though theoretically all those things take 1,000 years to decompose, after a few years, you don't mind it anymore. As a matter of fact, there is a beach in California. It is made completely from glass.
Yeah, we were just talking about that upstairs.
Yeah, and that's actually a beautiful beach. If people who go there, they're amazed that the entire sand, after a few years, the water take all the sharp edges away, and it looked like a beautiful glass beach, and people enjoy that. So, and you have to as well to be at the depth of it to understand the other factors that goes in that. Now, but let's talk about the plastic. We want to talk about plastic.
Yeah. Okay, so just some plastic things. Don't look at it.
Okay.
How long do you think it takes? In the office, we just made a change. This is a huge change for me. I was really excited about it. It's kind of embarrassing to say, but since I started, we used to reuse disposable cutlery. Don't look at it. And disposable paper plates. And then I got so sick of buying them. I hated that. So I eventually said, no more disposable. Everything is going to be reusable. We're using reusable cutlery, reusable plates, everything like that. How long do you think it takes plastic cutlery to decompose?
Well, it's all depend on what kind of plastic. Plastic is not plastic.
Okay,
that's exactly what I'm trying to make a point. Plastic is such a what we call plastic is a polymer. We call every polymer plastic there are polymers of plastic that decompose. They're organic. You throw them and they decompose like your compost. And they are kind of a long chain plastic polymer that nature has, at least as of now, has no way to get rid of it. If they go away, they don't go chemically away. Literally, mechanically, they just grind and then break down and grind and break down, and then even then they don't go away. They go to the water, and then you have this macroplastic in your fish, in algae, and everything. So in that sense, that's immortal. That is that. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So there is
But
you
to
cannot
get to
put
that
a
point, how long?
macroplastic
Yeah.
to get certain polymer practically are in the fish. You eat them and so on, meaning that they can literally immortal glass. They
Yeah, but
have 1,000 years more. And
Yeah, it takes 100 to 1,000 years to get to that point of tiny pieces of plastic.
certain plastic, again, those plastic, see, nature has a way of, plastic is an energy if you use it right. But let me tell you something about wood. Now, this is important. Everybody know what coal is, right?
Yeah.
What is coal?
Carbon.
Carbon, but how did it come to be?
It's burnt carbon.
No. When nature start building cellulose for for 100 or 200 million years, bacteria couldn't deal with it. They didn't know what to do with it. So trees built carbon, plants built cellulose. It just compacted physically, but didn't decompose chemically, not biologically. So they piled up, and then few 100 million years, bacteria discovered, wow, this is a source of food. We are going to eat it. So all the plant material, before bacteria learned how to break down cellulose, compacted not chemically, physically, under pressure, they became what we use today as coal. That's why it is limited supply, because in that period, bacteria didn't know what to do with it. It just piled up. But after that, there's no more coal reserves after bacteria learned how to break it down. So a very, very limited supply of that we are going through that very fast. So in that sense, plastic is the same. Bacteria, at the same time, they didn't know how to deal with wood and cellulose for a few 100 million years. Eventually, in a few 100 million years, bacteria will learn how to deal with plastic. Well, I'm not sure if a human being will survive that long, but as a matter of fact, there's a book I want to write about one of those apocalyptic movies that some scientists, always scientists' fault at the end of the day, they create a bacteria that is able to break down plastic. And then all of a sudden, the whole civilization falls down, because if there's bacteria that looked at the plastic as a source of food,
everything falls apart.
Everything falls apart.
Made out of plastic.
Everything, life as we know is over.
Well, not only that, but like humans are starting to have plastic inside their bodies. Babies are being born with plastic inside of them.
Because we eat fish.
Not just fish. There's plastic
who eat
in everything.
Algae who has this macroplastic embedded in them.
But it's not just the fish.
It's
in the water. It's
in some sandy beaches, about 2 to 3% of what's in the ground is macroplastic. Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
Yeah. So imagine, like, this is a little bit dramatic, but imagine you live.
Amanda says something dramatic.
You live for 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're dead at 100, but every single meal that you've eaten, you ate it with a plastic utensil, and you saved it and you gave it to your kids. Imagine all those plastic utensils when you die are still going to exist. Imagine,
except if you burn them.
Now you give and when you burn them, you're putting the plastic in the air.
No, well, I mean, like in Scandinavia, burning them for energy, for fuel.
But when you just go outside and have a fire, like when people go to war and then they don't have anywhere to dispose of their garbage, so they burn it. They actually have a lot of impacts on their own physical bodies, on their lungs, things like that.
Especially if it's PVC. PVC is a fantastic polymer polyvinyl chlore. But then the chlore part of it makes it extremely toxic when you are burning it. So and it's good because it doesn't go away. We don't want all our infrastructure fall apart. We want our pipes or
Yeah, you want your pipes to last.
Yeah, we want to last them forever. You do
but
want
your
them.
plastic pipes are starting to slowly break down, and then that plastic is going into your water, and then you're drinking that.
Now, imagine now if bacteria could break it down, all our water supply, we were in big trouble. So, but on the other side, we should, and our technology, our science is far enough that we can recycle them. We can reuse them. We
need to cut back on our consumption and on our production.
Sure, absolutely.
And it sucks because every time you want to be eco-friendly or you want to be green, not every time, but a lot of people want to be eco-friendly, want to be green. So then they take it to the next extreme. I was just talking to Dominic about this. You know, those canvas bags that recyclable, you reuse these bags, you get them at the grocery store. Each one of those bags takes like 30 to 100 plastic bags to make it.
And that means that if you use them less than that many,
if you don't use your canvas bag 30 to 100 times, you're doing actually a disservice thinking that you're doing something good. Or like reusable cups. We're such a consumer society. How many reusable cups do you need? Do you need a reusable cup for every day of the month? These reusable cups take energy to make. They're reusable for a purpose, not for a fashion. And that's my problem. And that's where I'm really passionate about this. That's where I want to get into textiles and clothing, fast fashion. When we were in India, we drove over the river. The river didn't have stones. It had piles of fabric. Remember that? So I just want to talk about polyester clothing, which if you do exercise, most yoga or exercise clothes are made out of polyester clothing, polyester materials, which is a plastic. That's an oil. So when you're sweating, you're opening your pores and heating up this material, and that's really bad for your body. You're absorbing all of these chemicals. But how long do you think it takes a polyester shirt to decompose?
As well, hundreds of years. 20
to 200 years.
Okay. Now, let me tell you something about what you described. Let's be a little scientific about it. What you said is right, but it's not the polyester itself that had that interaction with your body. It is actually what's so-called plasticizer. So plasticizers are some additive that we give to plastic because we want those long chain of polymer slide easier, like oil, those things. That makes it more malleable, more like more, I would say, foldable, stretchy, and so on and so forth. And those plasticizer, as a matter of fact, is something, it is like an oil in an engine. And with the time, actually, they go away, and that makes the plastic then brittle. And those have very similar, we know about that, they have very similar composition like a hormone that is in our body, which is progesterone or steroid. So we know that they are not good for you. We don't understand the exact impact of them on human health, but we know it's not good. Now, having said that, it is practically impossible to have these days a kind of fabric without all plastic. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, but you can buy organic cotton, you can buy organic wool. All you have to do is take 20 extra minutes to look. You don't have to buy the first shirt that you see.
Now, the reason, let me tell you a story from my life. When I was a child, we bought for our New Year, which is 21st of March, we bought a set of clothing, one pants, a shirt, maybe a jacket. The jacket had to last multiple years. But the pants and the shirt, just one time a year. So the fact that you can just go and buy a thing, and this is a new phenomenon.
Fast fashion.
Whatever it is that, well, you want a fashionable thing and so on, that is a new thing that you how you buy a clothing piece, you wear it like 5 times and then never again. This is a new phenomenon. Okay,
Mhm.
this is clothes used to be worn until there is actually a good German book. This guy has a big jacket, and then every time something get older and older, the jacket become a coat, the coat become a something
Like a
smaller.
shawl.
At the end of the life of the of
Mhm.
this big long jacket, or what do you call that long jacket? They go to your
Trench
knees.
coat.
Trench coat. At the end of the life, it becomes a piece of handkerchief that this that the child is wearing. So but that's not what's happening now anymore.
No, or like back in the day,
And that
like
is a
people would
German
make fun
story.
of people would make fun of people for having elbow patches because
Yeah,
those are what would
but then they
wear
became
faster.
fashionable.
And then they became fashionable, and that's exactly it. If you want to be fashionable, you don't have to buy a new outfit every week.
Yeah.
You need to be creative.
Now, another thing is that the jeans with the people go buy
Ripped jeans.
ripped jeans.
Yeah.
I mean, in my time, you had to just wear them until they have
Yeah, but
holes in them.
The point that I'm making is that we're in this
And then you fix
consumption
them. Yeah.
culture. We're consuming. We're making humans. We're forcing these humans to work in slave labor, sweatshops. They're making these clothes by hand on machines. It's a human making these clothes that you're buying. You're wearing it once or twice, and then throwing it in the garbage. And then it takes 200 years. I don't think people really take into consideration the impact that is. Someone's job was to make your clothes. You wore it twice and threw it away.
Yeah, well, we are a consumption society, and it's always encouraged for us to consume more and more, and our uh, our economy actually need consumption because our economy is built on that. But the fact that it's not good for the earth, I think I don't believe anybody will dispute that that we are destroying the earth.
There's people that dispute it happily.
I'm sure they are.
So, how long do you think a makeup wipe takes to decompose?
Okay, well, I don't know how much makeup wipe take, but I know there are always synthetic material with more synthetic material in them. I would consider them like a kind of plastic, middle of the way plastic.
With chemicals added too.
Yeah, the middle of the way plastic. So somewhere between 20 to 100 years.
Yeah, 100 plus years on average. This one blew my mind. Baby diaper.
Now, baby diaper are very different because they are made.
That filler.
That filler is made of silicate. Silicate by itself is sand, but it is a silicate polymer. It is supposed to absorb lots of fluid. It's mass package. I think that's amazing thing how they make that.
It's insane. Wow.
Yeah, like and silicate by nature, it's indestructible. So I would say like glass, like aluminum can do even more.
Yeah, on average, 500 to 1,000 years for one baby diaper. And how many times is a baby?
But not the outside of it, the silicate inside.
It doesn't matter. The outside, inside.
Yeah.
It's still one product. Like, how many are you using a day? How many times does a baby go to the bathroom a day?
After a certain time, it's not the baby diaper anymore. The poop is gone. All the organic material is gone. What's left is actually that silicate.
To me, all that matters is something is left. Like, that's what I'm upset about. I don't matter if it's a diaper. I don't matter if it's a house.
So how long will you last? How long does it take you to decompose?
If my friends are watching this, I've been thinking about sending you a text, and I don't know how to say it without being insane. But because I just read
this, without being insane?
I just read this book about. It's called Over My Dead Body. It's about like the funeral and crematorium and burial system throughout the world and the history of burials. When I pass away, if anyone in my family buries me in a concrete casket or something that doesn't decompose, I will haunt you so bad. I will be like, that will be the most insulting thing to me.
That you should get buried by like Zoroastrian.
I was actually thinking about texting you and
sky burial.
No, I was thinking about texting you and saying, like, if for some reason I pass away, you have my permission to bury me on the ranch and get some tax.
Cemetery tax. Well, I'm not sure if I. No.
But anyway, okay. How long do you think an aluminum can takes?
So we talked about that already.
Okay, circuit board.
Circuit board. Well, circuit board is made of a resin compound and so on. That and then lots of heavy metal and so on. It's just hollow take. It has a lots of metal that on one side they are very valuable, on the other side they are very toxic.
Okay, someone threw it outside. How long is it going to be there?
Hundreds of years, if not
thousands of years.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one, juice box. This one really blew my mind.
Juice box.
Yeah.
And again, it is a compound. It's a mix. And it's the plastic, paper plastic, so that
aluminum foil.
Yeah, aluminum foil is a compound thing and so on. Those things always take much longer to go away.
And that's what I was thinking about too. I forgot to say this when you were talking about recycling. That's another reason why we can't really recycle, because we're mixing these materials we can't.
Because compound material are hard to recycle.
Yeah.
Yes.
So point being, do your best to reduce your consumption. Do your second best to reuse your consumption. Do your third best to recycle it.
Okay.
Thank you guys for watching. This was Essence of Science, and we talked about decomposition. I'm Amanda Armagast.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence.
Have a good weekend.